On News 3 New Mexico, the old Blackwater Draw Museum building between Clovis and Portales was destroyed by fire on Tuesday amid fierce winds.
Are we finally going to get some rain in our future? Find out in my full weather forecast.
And the CDC published its ensemble forecast Wednesday, predicting the average number of daily deaths will drop over the next 4 weeks.
This is News 3 New Mexico, your local source for news, sports, and first weather.
Good evening. This is News 3 New Mexico. I am Olayinka Sodunke.
And I am Bradley Wise. Dangerous incidents involving high-speed police pursuits have prompted a northern New Mexico district attorney to adopt a policy to toughen potential plea deals for defendants in those cases. First Judicial District Attorney Mary Carmack Altways said Monday the policy prohibits probation as being the sentence in a plea deal for a case of aggravated fleeing. Also, her office will ask judges to order that anyone accused of aggravated fleeing be jailed until trial. The First Judicial District covers Santa Fe, Rio Arriba, and Los Alamos counties. Recent incidents prompting the policy include 2 wrong-way cases of Interstate 25, including one that resulted in crashes that killed 2 people. Authorities say a suspect in an Albuquerque murder case now is in jail after being released from a hospital. Bernalillo County Sheriff's officials say an arrest warrant was issued for 20-year-old Christopher Byers last month, but he had to spend weeks in hospital recovering from being shot in a different incident in January. Byers had a court appearance Saturday. Prosecutors want him to remain in jail until his trial in connection with the death of a 16-year-old boy. Authorities say the teen's body was found in an open field in the South Valley last month. Sheriff's officials say Byers is being held on suspicion of an open count of murder, armed robbery, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and tampering with evidence.
Now, the old Blackwater Draw Museum building on US Road 70, which is between Clovis and Portales, was destroyed on Tuesday afternoon as area firefighters battled large rage fires fueled by fierce winds south and west of Clovis. The fire was largely contained by sundown about 4 hours after it started. Portales Fire Chief T.J. Carty said outbuildings near the old museum were also destroyed in the blaze, which also caused major damage to the nearby former Eastern New Mexico University football field. The Blackwater Draw Museum moved to the KENW campus in Portales in 2017. Firefighters were called in from Clovis, Melrose, and Field. Dan Herden, CT of Clovis Emergency Management Director, said the fire was contained but still hot by sundown. It said a stake of railroad ties helped to get the fire under control. He said he was not aware of any structures lost or injuries in the fire. Now, Payton, what's going on with the weather? It was very hot on Sunday. Today, it's pretty cold.
Looking windy too, right?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty windy. It's still going to be pretty dry, but maybe there's some precipitation on the way. Let's find out in my first weather.
Okay, then.
All right, thank you.
So, as they were saying at the desk, it was pretty hot during this weekend, like I reported last week, but things are starting to cool down just a little bit. We got 55 in Farmington, 54 in Gallup, 58 in Albuquerque. Let's take it back to eastern New Mexico. We got 47 in Santa Rosa, 50 in Tucumcari, 31 up north in Raton. They're back to freezing temperatures. Let's go ahead and check out the satellite and radar. Now, like I was saying, we do got a little bit of rain on the way here. Not a whole lot, it's looking like, but hopefully we'll get some nice showers across most of the state. Up north, it's looking like some flurries, a little bit of snow, but that's to be expected, especially with everything starting to cool down now. Let's go ahead and check out the wind we're looking at here. Wind speeds across the state, everything's looking pretty windy. We got central New Mexico, things are going to look pretty windy at around 45 to 50 miles per hour. Let me move over here real quick. Southern New Mexico, things are about to stay 35, 40 miles per hour too. So the wind's not just localized to eastern New Mexico, as you can see. But eastern New Mexico on Thursday at 3, not experiencing a whole lot of wind. The rest of the state, however, around 10, 20 miles per hour, nothing too crazy. We'll speed it up one more time. So Friday at 11:30, we start to pick up again. Over here by Albuquerque, this central region up here, around 30 miles per hour of wind, and in Portales, Clovis and Tucumcari as well, things are going to pick up wind-wise again. I'll take it back to Brad and Olayinka at the desk.
In Houston, Texas prison officials say they don't plan to formally update their rules after last week's Supreme Court ruling that indicated states must accommodate the request of death row inmates who want to have their spiritual advisors pray aloud and touch them during their executions. But the Texas Department of Criminal Justice said Tuesday that such requests by inmates will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and unless they present a substantial security risk or are outrageous, they would work to grant them. However, an attorney for death row inmate John Ramirez, whose case the Supreme Court ruled on last week, says leaving it on a case-by-case basis and not outlining specific rules won't resolve this issue and will likely result in more lawsuits and execution delays. Students from Ukraine who are studying overseas are worrying about their loved ones and the war's impact on the lives they were planning to return to at home. As they made crepes to sell for a war relief effort on a recent Saturday, thoughts of their relatives in harm's way weighed on several Russian-speaking students at their boarding school in the Rocky Mountains. The Russian-speaking students at the United World College campus in New Mexico have been united in horror over the invasion of Ukraine.
Now, the battle against COVID-19 is moving in the right direction. The CDC published its December forecast on Wednesday, predicting the average number of daily deaths will drop over the next 4 weeks. Keeping it in perspective, though, that's still more than 14,000 people expected to die from COVID-19 over the next month, and it's slightly higher than the prediction made in last week's December forecast, but still one of the lowest projections this year.
But don't leave yet. We'll have more news after the break.
But first, here's a look at the financial market.
Welcome back. So let's go ahead and look at those temperatures one more time. Like I said, things are cooling down pretty much across the state here. We got 55 in Farmington, 54 in Gallup, 58 in Socorro, 58 in Albuquerque as well. We got 31 in Raton, 47 in Santa Rosa. Let's go ahead and zoom that in. 50 in Tucumcari, 52 in Clovis, and 51 here in Portales. You know, things are getting pretty chilly, and it honestly feels a little bit colder because, you know, it's really nice and warm this weekend. Let's go ahead and look at the future satellite and radar. Not a whole lot going on. Lots of cloud cover across the state. You know, after that storm moves in that I covered in my first weather, everything's going to start calming down throughout Thursday and into Friday. You know, we got a little storm coming through from the north down. But besides that, things are still going to calm down quite a bit. Not going to be a whole lot going on here. Let's look at our little slice of heaven here. Not a whole lot going on when it comes to weather-wise. Let's go ahead and look at tonight's lows. So, as you can see, things are still cooling down across most of the state. We got 37 in Farmington, 33 in Gallup. Everything's starting to reach frozen temperatures again. Up north, we're looking at 31 in Raton, 42 in Santa Rosa, which also matches Portales. We got 42 in Portales, 39 in Clovis, 48 in Tucumcari. It's nice and warm up there for some reason. We're going to look at tomorrow's highs. Now, things are on the up and up when it comes to weather, when it comes to temperatures, rather. We got 61 in Farmington, 57 in Raton. That points out at me because, you know, they were pretty cold whenever we looked at the nights. We got 58 in Santa Fe, 63 in Albuquerque. Let's take it back to our little slice of heaven over here. 67 in Tucumcari, 66 in Clovis, 67 in Santa Rosa as well. And if I move right here, 70 in Roswell. Always got to be different, except they match Hobbs down there this time. And 66 in Portales. Now let's get a look at your 7-day forecast. 72 on Thursday, 43 Thursday night. Not looking so bad. 84 on Friday. Nice and sunny, though. And the weekend's going to be nice and sunny and nice and warm. Warm nights as well in Carlsbad. Then let's take it to Roswell, home of the Coyotes and the Goddard Rockets. We got 70 on Thursday, 82 on Friday, 83 on Saturday, 89 on Sunday. Down south, things are going to look like a really nice weekend. Really nice and really warm, and not a whole lot of wind down there as well. Tucumcari, home of the Rattlers. We got 67 on Thursday, 73 on Friday, 47 Thursday night, 37 Friday night. Their temperatures dip a little bit at night, but not too bad because Sunday we pick it up again. It's going to get nice and warm. Now Portales, home of the Rams and the Greyhounds. We got 67 on Thursday. Friday is going to be windy and 75, and the temperatures are going to dip down to 36 Friday night. End of your weekend, things are going to look nice and warm, and next week the wind's going to pick up, but it's going to get nice and warm again.
Okay, looks like it's going to be windy on Friday. Then on Sunday, we're going to go as high as 84. But then it looks like this last Sunday was about 90. So I think Sundays are going to be a lot more warmer than other days of the week right now.
I know it's actually looking kind of chilly today, though.
Yeah, it's been pretty chilly, but we got a little bit of rain last night, too, so things aren't so bad.
We did.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, then we'll be back after this break. Welcome back. America's workers' shortage, a hallmark of the pandemic economy, is far from being fixed. The federal government reports U.S. businesses had 11.3 million jobs opening to fill in February, slightly more than economists had predicted. The level of available positions changed from the start of the year, but below the December all-time high of 11.4 million. Meanwhile, the number of Americans quitting their jobs inched up to 4.4 million in February. That's slightly higher than in the month before, but below the November peak of 4.5 million.
The Pentagon is planning to accelerate production of missiles as it continues to send weapons to Ukraine. These new weapons will go toward refilling the Defense Department's depleted stock. Officials say it is ramping up production of Stinger anti-air missiles and Javelin anti-tank missiles. According to a recent military assistance wish list, Ukraine has requested the U.S. deliver 1,000 of these weapons daily. The U.S. and other NATO members have already sent tens of thousands of missiles to help Ukraine fight off Russia's invasion.
That is all the news we have for you right now.
Be sure to come back after the break for sports with Qitana Sapiga.
Welcome back to News 3 New Mexico. I'm Qitana Sapiga, and tonight let's see what's going on in the sports world, starting with March Madness. The stage is set for the women and men's Final Four. Last week's round of the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 was a battle. Teams were fighting for their chance at a national title, and yet only 4 schools survived. For the women's Final Four, we have South Carolina versus Louisville, both #1 seeds. South Carolina stamped their ticket after an easy win against Payton last week in the Elite 8, and Louisville easily took out Michigan last week as well. Then there's UConn #2 and Stanford, another #1 seed. UConn did not have it easy in the previous round as NC State gave them a run for their money in double overtime. But the Huskies eventually prevailed, beating the Wolfpack 91-87. Then Stanford went head-to-head with the Texas Longhorns and bested them 59-50. All but one of the 1 seeds have reached the Final Four as expected. Now we will see who will come out on top. Both games are on Friday at 5 and 7:30 p.m. For the men's Final Four, it's a battle of the Blue Bloods with #2 Villanova and the only remaining #1 seed, Kansas. Villanova beat Houston last week 50-44, and Kansas took care of Miami 76-50. Then there's the matchup we've all been waiting for, UNC and Duke. UNC ended arguably the best Cinderella story in the history of March Madness, beating the 15th seed St. Peter's 69-49. The Peacocks had an unbelievable run in the tournament, but UNC knew they had to handle business. And Duke met up with Arkansas last week and bested them 78-69. Believe it or not, these two squads have never played each other in the NCAA tournament, and how fitting is it that they're meeting up in the Final Four for the first time ever, and also in Coach K's last season with the Blue Devils. The biggest rivalry in college basketball is about to go down this weekend. You don't want to miss it. Both games are on Saturday at 4:09 and 6:49 p.m. I failed to talk about an important situation that has been going on for well over a month. This story is long overdue. Brittney Griner, a WNBA athlete who plays for the Phoenix Mercury, has been detained in Russia since mid-February after Russian authorities discovered vape cartridges containing hashish oil in her luggage. Some may ask, why was Griner even in Russia, especially with the war that's been going on? And it's because Griner plays for the Russian club UMMC during off-season. It is pretty common within the WNBA for athletes to go play overseas during the off-season because playing overseas is another source of income for these athletes as they are not able to make as much money playing in the U.S. alone. Griner was actually leaving the country in February when she was detained. If Griner is guilty, she could face up to 10 years in prison. News of Griner's arrest only reached the U.S. after news outlets in Russia released the story. It was announced just a week after the invasion of Ukraine. Brittney Griner is a 2-time gold medalist. She has won a college national championship, a WNBA championship, and she has titles in the EuroLeague. She is arguably the greatest female basketball player of all time and is considered one of the best offensive players in the WNBA. So how come nobody's talking about this, and why isn't this a bigger story? Well, Lisa Leslie, a retired basketball icon, wondered the same thing. Leslie said that her and other WNBA players were told not to speak out too much about the arrest in Russia over fears that Griner would become a political pawn, especially considering the circumstances that are happening right now. I do wonder if that would be the same case if someone like Tom Brady or LeBron James were detained. On March 22nd, a U.S. Embassy official was granted consular access to Griner, allowing them to evaluate Griner's condition. The official found Griner to be in good condition, and they will continue to work with the Russian government to bring her home. This is definitely a scary situation to be in, and everyone is rallying for President Biden to bring Britney home. The NFL has listened to fans' concerns with the overtime rules, and they have announced the new rules that will go into effect this upcoming season. The biggest argument with the old rules was that it wasn't fair that both teams didn't get to have possession of the ball. A coin toss would determine who got possession of the ball. Then if that team scored, the game was over. Now with these new rules, both teams will have the opportunity to possess the ball in the postseason. Then if the score is tied after each team has possessed the ball, the next score wins. The last rule is if the team kicking off to start the overtime period scores a safety on the receiving team's initial possession, the team that kicked off is the winner. In addition to the new overtime rules, the NFL also passed the Rooney Rule. This means all 32 teams must hire a minority offensive assistant coach for the 2022 season. The coach can be a female or a member of an ethnic or racial minority. The coach must work closely with the head coach and the offensive staff. The goal is to increase minority participation in the pool of offensive coaches that eventually produces the most sought-after candidates for head coaching positions. This opportunity will be a stepping stone for minorities and will open more doors for people of color and women. Women have been added as a factor that can fulfill this requirement. Women can be hired and can be involved in this process. These changes are all in good efforts for the NFL to be more inclusive to minority groups. Right now, there are only 5 minority head coaches in the league, and the hope is that this number will increase in the near future. Let's end with some updates on Eastern sports. KENW Rodeo competed in the Ranger College Rodeo this past weekend. Shacey Marr was just short of qualifying for the short rounds of breakaway roping and goat tying. Her times were 2.4 and 8.2, which were both less than a second over the time needed to qualify. Rodeo's next showcase begins tomorrow through Saturday at the Western Texas College Rodeo. Greyhound softball split a series with St. Edwards. They lost the first game, then won the second game 3-2. Greyhound baseball went 1-3 in their series against Oklahoma Christian last week, and they look to play St. Mary's on Friday. That is all the sports I have for you tonight, but stay tuned and you'll be back after this break.
And lastly tonight, a pair of jailbirds became free birds and one becomes the stuff of legend. Jeremy Rott explains in today's Take a Look at This.
In the natural waterways of the Gulf Coast of Texas, spotting wild birds doing their thing is no big thing, unless the feathered fowl in question is a famous fugitive that's been on the run for 17 years. Video shot by an environmental activist and shared by Texas Parks and Wildlife officials is purported to show Pink Floyd, a flamingo that famously flew the coop from a Kansas zoo in 2005. The flamingo's ID was reportedly confirmed by its numbered leg band.
Might be a little awkward getting off the ground, but they can fly like 35 miles an hour and travel, over 350 miles.
Animal experts say flamingos can be quite resilient in their natural habitats, and some can live as long as 50 years.
As long as there's plenty of food, no predators, he's doing real well.
There are no plans to recapture the flamingo. Officials seem comfortably numb about his fugitive status, so Pink Floyd can continue to enjoy his pretty great gig in the sky. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Speaking of cleverly named bad boy birds on the run, here's a headline: Carolina cops catch Steve. This is Steve. This teeny tiny owl got his affectionate nickname after he got trapped inside a North Carolina home and was rescued by officers with the Greenville Police Department. After getting a clean bill of health, Steve was re-released into the wild, turning this charming junior jailbird into a free bird. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
That was very interesting. Well, just before we go, let's look at the weather one more time, Payton.
Yeah, let's take a look at that final weather. So here in Roswell, we're looking at a 62 today. It was a little bit chilly, but not too bad down south. We got Thursday at 67 on the climb there, and then Friday it shoots all the way up to 80, and it's partly cloudy. And in Portales, New Mexico, we got 65 today, 68 tomorrow, and 81 nice and warm on Friday.
I think Friday is the day to look forward to right now. 81. That
I'll be
sounds
the
interesting.
favorite.
Yeah,
week.
cross your fingers, right?
Cross your fingers.
And well, that is all the news we have tonight. Thank you for watching News 3 New Mexico.
Have a great night.